Most often, the person you admired the most might not be humanly what you imagine. In the shadow of a vibrant campus, a young woman named Mireille drew all eyes, but her charm concealed a terrifying secret. Listen to this story to the end, and discover a trap so seductive it could engulf you, if you get too close. The university was a whirlwind of dreams, a sprawling campus where ambition and youth clashed in a chaos of hopes and rivalries. At the heart of this world stood Mireille, a figure so radiant she seemed to defy the laws of reality. Tall, with luminous eyes that captured every gaze and a cascade of silky black hair, she was the embodiment of perfection. Her wardrobe was a parade of luxury, each outfit a masterpiece by designers, every accessory a declaration of wealth. She drove a sleek convertible that glided through the campus gates, drawing attention like a magnet. To the boys, she was an enchanting vision. To the girls, she was either an idol to worship or a cruel mirror reflecting their unfulfilled desires. But what made Mireille irresistible was the mystery she wore like a cloak. She spoke little of her past, her family, or her home village, dropping only enigmatic fragments through calculated smiles. Her generosity, however, knew no bounds. Lavish gifts for her friends, extravagant dinners at upscale restaurants, and a magnetic aura that made everyone feel unique in her presence. Yet, no one truly knew her, and this veil of secrecy fueled both adoration and corrosive envy. Mireille shared a cramped student room with Alice and Sophie, two friends bonded by a camaraderie that began on their first days at university. Alice was the voice of reason, her analytical mind always alert, weighing risks with an almost maternal caution. Her brown hair, always pulled into a neat ponytail, and her glasses slipping as she buried herself in engineering books betrayed a methodical soul. Sophie, in contrast, was an explosion of life. Her laughter rang like bells, her blonde curls bouncing with her boundless energy. A literature student, she lived for the moment, carefree and eager for adventure. Despite their differences, the trio spent countless nights in their dorm, sprawled on a worn rug, laughing, sharing secrets, and dreaming under the soft glow of fairy lights. Beyond this intimacy, Mireille had two other allies in her history department. Roland, a discreet yet sharp-witted young woman navigating social circles with calculated precision, and Lena, a striking beauty whose radiant smile hid a burning thirst for fame and wealth. Lena watched Mireille with an envy she struggled to conceal, her heart ablaze with desire for the life her friend seemed to possess effortlessly. One autumn evening, as the air grew crisp and golden leaves carpeted the campus, Mireille burst into the dorm, her cheeks flushed with an almost supernatural excitement. "Gather around, you won't believe this," she exclaimed, her voice vibrating like a high note as she rallied Alice, Sophie, Roland, and Lena in the common space. "My father is opening a new gas station in our village, and he's throwing a lavish party to celebrate. It'll be grand, politicians, influencers, celebrities, people who can change your lives." Her words hung in the air, laden with glittering promises. For the first time, Mireille spoke of her family, sketching a world beyond the campus's concrete walls. Sophie's eyes lit up, her imagination galloping toward visions of glamour. "A party like that? I'm in," she cried, clapping her hands with enthusiasm. Alice, however, felt a shadow of unease settle in her heart. This sudden openness from Mireille was like a crack in a flawless facade, and her instincts whispered caution. "That's not all," Mireille continued, her smile widening like a horizon. "My father is offering a sum of money that could change each of my friends' lives if you come. Enough to erase your debts, launch your dreams, anything you want." Excitement electrified the room, but Alice's heart tightened. Why now? Why this extravagant gesture from a family Mireille had never mentioned? "I'd need to check with my parents first," she said, her voice calm but laced with doubt she couldn't suppress. Mireille's smile faltered, a fleeting shadow crossing her face. "Oh, no need for that," she replied, her tone too quick, too smooth. "The invitation is only for 3 of you. I've already arranged everything." She turned to Alice, her eyes softening but her words cutting like a blade. "Don't worry, Alice. You'll be fine here. It's just a weekend and I'll bring you something special to make up for it." This exclusion stung Alice, a wave of rejection washing over her as Sophie's enthusiasm drowned her fears. "Can you imagine? We're going to Mireille's village, to her mansion," Sophie exclaimed, her voice bubbling with dreams of luxury. Alice forced a smile, but a deep fear coiled in her chest. "Are you sure that's a good idea, Sophie?" she pressed, her hands twisting nervously. "What if your parents come looking for you? You're going somewhere you don't even know." Sophie rolled her eyes, shaking her curls. "You're too protective, Alice. I can make my own decisions. Stop playing the mom." Across campus in the room shared by Roland and Lena, a different tension saturated the air. Roland folded her clothes with methodical precision, her face impassive but her mind racing. Lena, sprawled on her bed, watched Roland, planting seeds of doubt. "Are you sure about this party?" she asked, her tone light but laden with intent. "Mireille is so secretive. Do you really trust her?" Roland paused, her fingers lingering on a sweater as she met Lena's gaze. "I don't need to trust her," she replied coolly. "I just need to be there when the right opportunities arise." "You're going too, aren't you? Afraid you'll miss out?" Lena's smile tightened, her envy flaring. She wanted Mireille's life, the wealth, the connections, the effortless charm. This party was her chance to seize it, even if it meant outpacing Roland. "I just don't want you to regret it," Lena said, her voice feigning concern. Roland's lips curved into a mocking smile. "You're afraid I'll make the right connections before you. You've always wanted to be Mireille, haven't you? The way you look at her, it's obvious. This party is your golden ticket, and you're scared I'll steal it." Lena's composure faltered, her cheeks flushing, but she swallowed her retort. The room hummed with silent rivalry, each plotting her path to glory. On Thursday morning, Mireille's car purred to life, whisking Sophie, Roland, and Lena toward the unknown. Alice remained in the dorm, her phone clutched in her hand, an inner voice screaming it was a mistake. The journey was long, the city giving way to rolling hills and dense forests that seemed to swallow the road. Lena stared out the window, her mind swirling with visions of the connections she'd forge, the doors this party would open. Sophie chattered excitedly, while Roland stayed silent, her eyes scanning the landscape for clues. Hours passed and the expected village never appeared. Instead, Mireille ventured deeper into the wilderness, the road narrowing into a winding path. Finally they reached a clearing, and there, rising from the earth like a cursed castle, stood a mansion. Its towering spires and carved stone walls were breathtaking, a monument of wealth wrapped in an unsettling silence. "It's incredible," Sophie whispered, her voice trembling with awe. "I didn't know your family was this rich," Roland added, her tone cautious but impressed. Mireille's smile was distant, her eyes unreadable. "Welcome to my home," she said, her voice soft as a chilling breeze. A man emerged from the mansion, his presence both imposing and disarming. Tall, with a warm smile and piercing eyes, he seemed to see through you. "You must be Sophie, Roland, and Lena," he said, embracing Mireille before turning to the others. "I am Chief Thomas, Mireille's father. I'm delighted you're here." His charm eased their nerves, but the mansion's isolation weighed on them like a shadow. Inside, the opulence was overwhelming, marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers, every detail screaming wealth. Yet the silence was oppressive, as if the house held its breath. Lena, ever bold, broke the calm. "Where's Mireille's mother?" Chief Thomas's face lit with pride. "She's abroad but will arrive tomorrow with the president's advisor, just in time for the party. You'll meet her soon." The promise of mingling with such elite figures sent shivers through the girls, their doubts momentarily stifled. This was the world they'd always dreamed of. Chief Thomas's tone shifted, his smile tightening slightly. "Mireille is my only daughter, and I've given her everything. This weekend is for you to relax before the celebration. But there's one rule, no phones." Lena frowned. "No phones?" she repeated, her voice sharp. Chief Thomas laughed, brushing off her concern with a wave. "I want you to disconnect, to fully experience this place. The network will be blocked soon anyway to keep you in the moment." Sophie's phone vibrated in her pocket, and call from Alice. She stepped aside, answering quietly. "Alice, we're here." "It's incredible." Before she could finish, a guard appeared, his face stern. "No phones, miss," he said, hand outstretched. Sophie froze, her connection with Alice severed as she handed over her device. Roland and Lena reluctantly surrendered theirs, their unease growing. The guards seemed less like hosts and more like overseers. That night, the girls dined with Chief Thomas in a grand hall, his charisma weaving a spell that dulled their doubts. "Rest well," he said as they retired, his smile warm but his eyes cold as stone. "The big day approaches." But when darkness enveloped the mansion, it seemed to come alive with a secret life. Lena awoke in the night, her breath visible in the frigid air despite her thick blankets. The room felt alive, as if an invisible presence lurked in the shadows. A barely audible whisper called her name, "Lena? Lena?" clear and terrifying. She sat up, heart pounding, her eyes searching the darkness. The sound stopped, then resumed, now coming from the hallway. Trembling, she crept to the door, peeking into the empty corridor. The whispers grew louder, now from the basement, urgent and insistent. She slammed the door, diving under the covers, convincing herself it was the stress of an unfamiliar place. The morning brought a new horror. Mireille had vanished. "She's probably in town helping with preparations," Sophie said, her optimism unshaken. But as the day wore on, Mireille didn't return, and Chief Thomas's evasive replies, "She's busy, don't worry," only deepened their unease. The promised party remained invisible. No decorations adorned the halls, no guests arrived, no staff bustled about. Lena cornered a maid, her voice sharp. "Where's the party? What's happening?" The woman's eyes darted away, her voice trembling. "Everything's under control," she murmured, slipping away before Lena could press further. Roland, lounging in a velvet chair, contrasted with Lena's rising panic. "You're overthinking it," she said. "They're rich. Maybe they do everything last minute." "Wait." But Lena's instinct screamed that something was wrong. That night, the whispers returned, louder, more desperate. "Lena. Lena." They came from the basement, a chorus of voices clawing at her mind. She froze, her breath shallow, too terrified to move. By morning, Sophie was gone. Lena and Roland searched the mansion, their footsteps echoing in the empty corridors. Sophie's room was untouched, her belongings neatly packed as if she'd vanished. The staff dodged their questions, and Chief Thomas was nowhere to be found. "We need to leave," Lena whispered, her voice shaking. Roland nodded, her composure crumbling. They grabbed their bags and fled, the dense forest canopy swallowing them. At the university, Alice's fear had morphed into a suffocating weight. Sophie's brief call was her only link, and 3 days later there was nothing. Sophie's parents called, worried, and Alice lied, saying Sophie was studying. But guilt gnawed at her, and on the 3rd day she broke. "I lied," she confessed, tears falling. "She went to Mireille's village and I haven't heard from her." They rushed to the university demanding answers. The administration's response was a shock. No Mireille Thomas was enrolled. She was a ghost, a lie woven into their lives. Sophie's family went to the police, who traced her call to a remote rural area on the edge of a dense forest. Locals whispered about Chief Thomas's lands, a place where people disappeared, their voices thick with fear. In the forest, Lena and Roland ran, their breaths ragged, the sound of pursuit close behind. Chief Thomas and his guards were relentless, his once kind face now a mask of rage. Roland stumbled, collapsing. "I can't go on," she gasped, eyes wide. Lena grabbed her arm, urging her up, but Roland's gaze hardened. "One of us can escape if the other stays." Before Lena could react, Roland pushed her, sending her crashing to the ground. "I'm sorry," Roland murmured, darting into the darkness. Lena, dazed, watched Chief Thomas emerge, his hands closing around Roland's throat. Her screams faded, her body slumping lifelessly. Lena crawled, tears streaming, Roland's betrayal both a wound and her salvation. Suddenly, police burst in, tackling Chief Thomas to the ground. Lena, trembling, was pulled to safety, her body shaking with relief and horror. At the station, Chief Thomas sat, his face eerily calm, his eyes distant. When questioned about Mireille, he murmured, "Mireille isn't human. She's a spirit, one of those who walk among us, taking what they want. I used her to lure them, but she changed the rules." His words chilled the room. "They choose their prey, people who want what they can't have." His laugh turned maniacal, his body convulsing as if seized by an unseen force. "I shouldn't have spoken," he whispered, his eyes wild. He leapt up, toppling the table, and ran into the street. Headlights pierced the darkness, tires screeched, and a dull thud echoed as his body hit the pavement, lifeless. Lena survived, but the whispers never left her, haunting her dreams with Sophie's voice. Sophie was never found, the forest guarding its secrets. Alice, consumed by guilt, vowed to trust her instincts, the weight of her silence an eternal scar. The lure of wealth and glamour was a trap, draped in the face of a friend who was never real. Some temptations are nets, adorned with dreams, waiting for those who come too close. If this story captivated you, share it with your friends and leave a comment to tell us what you think. Subscribe to not miss our next stories, where the shadow of danger might await you around the next corner.